Welcome back to another edition of the Raider Take podcast. I am Micah McDonald. With me, as always, is Andy McDonald. Raiders got a big win on Thanksgiving, overtime win. We're good at those, supposedly this year. But before we get into all of that fantastic recap, how are you, Andrew?
Andrew is great, especially this week. It was 3 tough recap episodes, 3 losses in a row for the Raiders, but just in the nick of time, just in the holiday spirit, the Raiders came through on a wild Thursday afternoon victory against the Cowboys. So feeling good, man. It was a good way to not ruin the weekend or the Thanksgiving day, but definitely good to see the Raiders back over 500. But yeah, just want to obviously we'll touch on the game a little bit. How are you, actually? How are you? I don't ever get to ask you that.
I'm doing good. Just sitting around the house doing a whole lot of nothing, rehabbing the knees, and it's going pretty well. So can't complain. Kind of been on extended vacation. It almost seems like I've just been playing zombies and watching Netflix. So
Perfect.
can't be mad at that. Yeah, doing all right. We got. I will say, and maybe we can. I'll throw a little curveball in there on part of our rundown. We did talk about it at one point, but we got to touch on this flip of the coin schedule thing that is going right now. It's kind of taken over Raider Twitter, and it was something that I had texted you about. So I'm just going to roll right into it. We'll get right into it, and we'll get your thoughts about that. So there's a guy on Reddit that flipped a coin for every game of the Raiders season. I don't know how it panned out. My assumption was heads is win, tails is loss, would be my guess, but there isn't really any details in that. But what the important part is that he has been completely right this whole time. He has gone 11-0 on the coin flips, and every game has been right. And he had predicted us to beat the Cowboys, which was awesome, and we did. So we're battling for the power of the coin. He predicted us to go 10-7, getting the 7th seed in the playoffs. It also looks like his handwriting is that of a 9-year-old. So it would be even better if it was a 9-year-old that did this.
Yes,
it might be weirder the older he gets on the person who does this. But
I think so. Yeah.
Regardless, we are in a fantastic time right now, following along with this, and the power of the coin has us going 4-2 the rest of the season. So,
what does he have against the football team?
A win.
Good.
Yeah, win, loss to the Chiefs, 3 wins in a row, and a loss to the Chargers.
Okay, I mean that seems fair. Yeah. So he's flipped a coin on every game so far this year.
Yes.
And accurately predicted it.
Yes, it's 11-0. Each game was exactly correct.
I don't know how to think about that. That's some witchcraft. Obviously, I think it gets weirder the older he is, and it gets weirder the more he gets, continues to streak. So I guess we're gonna see. But when you sent that to me, I was like, I don't know what's going on here, but this is crazy. And then maybe that's why I rode with him. I think we actually might have rode with the Raiders. We probably recorded before that, but yeah, he's got the power of the coin, and I think that I'll ride with him until he's wrong. So I think we need to figure out who this individual is. We got to find him. I think you got to track him down, get him on the pod. It could be a little problematic depending on how old this individual is too, of reaching out and trying to get them onto our podcast. Like if it's just a 7-year-old, that could be weird. Yeah, well, I think that's going to be our next task is let's get this guy on the pod. He's 11-0 so far, and it's good that he's predicting when he gets a football team. We definitely need it. But alrighty, so let's get into it. As we mentioned, Thanksgiving Day, Raiders come out victorious against the Cowboys in Dallas by the score of 36-33. Definitely an over game for those that are wagering. So good on you there, and definitely a game that the Raiders covered. And though I did not predict the accurate score, I did predict the Raiders by 3 with the Carlson field goal. So I am not as good as Coin Man, but I'm close. So
pretty damn good still.
Not bad. And it was, I wasn't very confident in the pick, but I'll take it nonetheless. So Yeah, let's just break it down. I know because you had the you had the Raiders offense against the Cowboys defense. Thoughts on that matchup, or just general thoughts on the game? I know obviously very exciting to come away with the dub there.
One thing that was probably one of the bigger contributing factors is the fact that the Cowboys had so many penalties. It was unbelievable. I think they ended the game with 14 or 15 total penalties on the game. Forget his name. Number 30 had probably about 16 pass interference calls, some of them in the biggest spots of the game. He was probably our most reliable player on offense. Just throwing it up to him, letting him just grab a hold of anybody and everybody. It was fantastic. But I thought the offense did really well. We lost Darren Waller early on, but Jacobs had himself a game. You saw Renfro have himself a game, 8 catches, 135 yards, somewhere around there. So I don't know. I think that we had our own issues with penalties in the game as well. I think we had 10 total penalties as a team altogether, but they had more, so that helped us win the game. Carlson was obviously automatic. Less than 2 minutes. I think it was around a minute and a half, somewhere around there. He hit one in to go up by 3, and then ended up hitting the game winner in overtime as well. So special teams, offense, all around played well. The Raiders right now are 6-0 in games where Carr throws for 300 yards or more, and they're 0-5 in games that he doesn't. So I think we're seeing essentially this offense live and die by the success that Carr is having, and we haven't been able to necessarily have a running game that can outplay a bad performance by Carr. I think the year before, we were playing Denver. I think in Denver, we ended up getting a win, but Carr only had he might have had less than 200 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. But the team was able to pull out a win, and we haven't really seen that at all this year, or a whole lot of that since then. So the people on Twitter that are arguing that he's not good and the people that are arguing that he is really good, I think they're both right because we're saying that his ceiling is that of someone who can go out there and win us football games, and his floor is it seems like he's just completely falling apart, and it seems like he's one extreme or the other. We haven't really seen a whole lot of in between from him, and I think that our record, like I said, with him throwing 300 or more, we're undefeated, and completely defeated when he doesn't, is kind of indicative of that. So yeah, I don't know. I thought all around we played a good game. They put the foot on the pedal, and the offense was able to go down and score points, and really take advantage of the things that the defense was doing for us, the stops that they were getting for us, and everything like that. So you obviously touch on the defense, but I think the offense played well. They made mistakes as far as penalties and stuff like that. It didn't seem like a whole lot of them were in those points where it just completely ruined everything, which those untimely penalties is something we've talked about before. And, there were a couple, but I feel like they played I won't say it was a clean game, but a less detrimental game of, getting in their own way. So I don't know. I thought they were able to figure out how to play against this defense. I think they were able to kind of bring Trayvon Diggs back down to earth a little bit on how well he's been playing. And yeah, just they went out there and got the win, and it took another overtime battle to get there. But I'm glad that I was proven wrong with my prediction, with my pessimistic prediction, and that you were ultimately proven right. So
Yeah, you're always a pessimist, so glad you finally got back down to earth. Now, we did flip roles, and hey, it worked out. I mean, obviously, there's a lot you can get into just with the game in itself. It was exciting. It was kind of like the Raiders were dominating. The first 2.5 quarters. You saw us go up to I believe it was, what was it, 17-13 going into half. Raiders go down and score in the third, and then right after that was that 100-yard kick return, and you're just like, okay, we thought we were pulling away for a second, and then it was just like,
I think it was 17-6 at one point too, right before, and they ended up scoring right before.
Yeah,
that, but it was
17-6
at one point. Mm-hmm. So
yep, 17-6 they scored right before half, and so it just felt like the Raiders were really starting off strong on both sides. They were able to get a couple drives in the first half and go down and score, and the defense played pretty well. I think you look at time of possession. That's something that we've looked at a lot recently, just with the games that we haven't got our offense going. So the Raiders had the ball for almost 40 minutes compared to the Cowboys 26. So that was obviously big, controlling the ball. A lot of even though it's actually funny that we weren't. Well, I guess both teams weren't very efficient on third downs. Both teams were 3 of 13 on third downs, but so the defense, as much as there were points, obviously a lot of points scored in this game. The defense was able to get stops on both sides with AJ Cole being put out there a good amount. But the Raiders, the defense did what they had to do. Really, I think you saw that. Obviously, Crosby wasn't really a factor, as I think everyone. I mean, really, it's been towards the end of last year, but especially kind of midway through this season and on, he's getting a lot of attention, which does free up Yannick, who did have a sack in the game, which is good. But it wasn't one of those games that I thought we were going to come in and put up a lot of numbers in the sack game. It was about how can we get pressures, how can we get stops on third down, and they did a good job there. So Crosby got a lot of attention, and Ngakoue got a sack. But, both quarterbacks throw for over 370 yards. But I think, we were able to, because we were able to control the game, because we were able to go up early, that really kind of eliminated Zeke Elliott getting going. He did get in the end zone, but really he wasn't 100%. You saw Pollard get mixed in there, but our defense did a good job against the run, holding both of those guys too. I mean, Zeke ran for 25 yards, Pollard for 35. So Raiders did a good job there. And I'll jump to the Raiders offense for a second. Jacobs did have a big run towards the end of the game, but still, without that run, it's 20 for 60, so 3 yards a pop, which we'll take with a W, but that's still something I think we need to focus on. But Raiders rush defense really stood strong. No CD Lamb, no Cooper, which was huge for us, especially Raiders going up early, going up 2 scores at a couple different points in the game, allowed us to not get beat deep, not, get those big shots taken where the momentum swings outside of that kick return, which is you just shouldn't let that happen in general. But, we had 2 guys go for over 100 yards on the receiving side, and they had Gallup and Cedric Wilson, I guess so. I'm saying big plays, and Wilson had a 50-yarder and Gallup had a 40-yarder, but you get what I'm saying. We're at least able to keep them maintained a little bit. But once the Cowboys started making their run towards the end, you could see our defense was getting gashed a little bit, and it created for an exciting game, and a game that we were, in control of, and then slowly came back to being like, okay, here we go. It's old Raiders. We're up, a couple scores, then we get down, and then they get that kickoff return, then we kick a field goal. So I believe it made it 30-22. Cowboys go down on the 4th, score, make it 30-30. Raiders go down under 2 minutes, kick a 56-yard field goal, which was graded by some analytics thing of ESPN as the worst play call of the week. Actually, was the Raiders kicking a field goal, the 56-yarder under 2 minutes. But what it did was allow us to go up, and when the Cowboys ended up tying it with 20 seconds left, we ended up going to overtime. So both teams got a stop in overtime, and the Raiders were able to just keep attacking that corner and getting PI calls, and came out victorious. But Dak was able to eat a little bit against us, but overall the defense played well as far as just keeping, for the most part, everyone in front of them, not getting gashed in the run. You've seen that Bengals game when Mixon got going and Burrow was able to be effective against us. We did a good job. I mean, and it was really because of our offense, because our offense started out hot. And they just played more loose, and that allowed the defense to not have to get into this force the hand a little bit and try to create turnovers. They were able to just take what they could give us, what they would give us. And so, I don't know, it was a solid go all the way around. It was just, I don't know. It was just a game that it's so funny that we go through these lulls of the year where it's up and down and 5-2 and 5-5. And if we lose that game, all we're talking about the rest of the weekend is probably the draft going into this week. And now it's like, you wake up Friday, which because they played on Thursday, or this Monday, and you see Twitter, and it's like, look at our playoff chances, all these things, and no more, mock drafts or anything. But, the Raiders, they did a good job. They handled business when really, they're 8-point dogs like we talked about. So it was something that maybe they saved their season a little bit there, and something that I think we should really look at as, a dub that we didn't really circle on the calendar and the schedule even before the year as something that was really realistic, especially with traveling out to Dallas. But good for the Raiders, good for Carr, big game there, and saw D-Jax get going a little bit, which is it's good that we have a threat there, and we got the football team coming into town. They're coming off a short week. We have a little bit longer of a rest, and we got them coming to Vegas. So I'm excited to be back over 500, and all in all, we'll take the dub on Thanksgiving, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. And one interesting situation that we found ourselves in when they scored, it put it at 19, and they kicked the extra point and make it. And one of our guys lined up offsides or was offsides. So they decided to go for it because the ball was on the 1. And then Jonathan Abram comes up and makes a stop. And so instead of being, just down by 7, that puts them down by 8 and put them in a, interesting predicament, which, they ended up tying it, getting it, coming back on the back end of doing it again. But I thought that was like one of those situations where it's like, all right, well, we're going to be kind of screwed here, and then all of a sudden it had that happen. It's like, wait a minute, maybe Lady Luck is on our side a little bit.
Yeah, and Abram actually led our team in tackles, which is impressive. I think we've talked about a lot within his role. I think he can be good for us, but it's when he gets exploited in the secondary is when it's problems. But it was Clee Farrell who went off sides, and then Abram came up and made the stop. So those guys working together is always good to see, that draft class. So. But yeah, man, we'll take it. Obviously a lot of yards, a lot of points. It was an exciting Thursday game. I believe it was, what did I say, like the most highly viewed CBS game in a long time. It was some crazy numbers.
Well, it was the highest rated game this season, and I think you're right. Something about like CBS's highest rated viewing thing, but they said on average they had 38 million people watching at one time.
That's insane.
At any given point, like that was kind of I don't know what the peak was, but at any point in time they measured 38 million people watching, which is wild,
Yeah.
And that's what Thanksgiving will do to you. But also, I'm sure there's a lot of people that like tuned in, later on because it's like, oh shit, like this is a good game, so.
Yeah. I mean, it gave the casual
numbers, whatever.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we do. No, it gave the casual fan or people that aren't even interested in sports just to have some on. So you're welcome, guys. But yeah, something you did briefly touch on, but Waller had that injury that looked bad at first. So he is week to week, day to day, week to week, whatever you want to call it, with that knee injury. So good to see that it just looked bad at first, but then he was able to get up, and so you realize it wasn't a torn ACL, but because that would have been a huge blow, obviously. Don't want to, obviously that happened to Alec Ingold earlier on or a couple weeks ago. So good to see him healthy. Good to see the Raiders get a dub. Good to see it not ruin anyone's Thanksgiving, at least for the Raider Nation. So
yeah, definitely. And I'll let you know how things kind of pan out as far as like recovery time frame. I found out that I had somewhat of a stretched IT band when I went to PT. So me and Waller basically have the same injury going on right now.
Yeah, I know you guys have been in contact. So. Yeah. You can give him some advice. Yeah. First, it was
Jameis.
It was Jameis, and then it was all Ingold. These athletic defensive Micahs out there, and now
me and Waller are the same.
Right, now you and Waller are the same. So
it's really relating to the NFL this year. So
you're just a relatable person. I think that's good. It's a good thing. But oh man, it's just nice. It's nice to buy us another week of just like, okay, maybe we're still in this. I can actually go on to my phone apps, my sports apps, or be able to watch TV and not have them just yelling at the Raiders. So it gives me a little bit of peace of mind, but also might be able to save our season and give us a shot to be 7-5. Coinman, he's out there, so he's telling us we're going to beat the Washington football team. But if we can beat them, we got the Chiefs coming off of a bye. They're coming off a bye this week to play the Broncos. So let's just say that they do win that. And the Raiders do. That would be 8-4 against 7-5, and that'd be a big showdown in Kansas City. So, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but good job for the Raiders. Definitely a few winnable games down the road, and we'll see where we go, man.